Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano, and this is the world famous, the universally loved, the best podcast in one, two, three galaxies. But, ladies and gentlemen, we just call it Online Marketing Moves, and we're coming to you live today. Today is May 17th, 2021. Time of this recording. It is a Monday. Monday. Woo woo. Who's excited about Monday? I'm excited about. I'm excited. I am excited about any day that ends in the word day. Okay, boom. I gotta pick up the corny jokes now. Since I'm gonna have a child and they need to be entertained, so I'm gonna have to pull out the old dusty joke book. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to talk about the funnel of life. Not the tunnel, but the funnel. Funnel for you people that can't spell very well. Now, what do I mean by this? If you ever think about this, life is kind of a funnel. Let's say you want to try out for a basketball team. It's 30 of you, 35 of you, are you guys and gals trying out for the basketball team. Now, most basketball teams, I don't know about you if you ever played, but I was a big time star in junior high, 7th grade, 8th grade, I played. Okay. And there was, I think we had like 8 people on the team, But let's say 35 of you tried out and there's 10 spots. It's a funnel. 25 people are going to get funneled out. 10 of you are going to make the team, and that's how it goes. It's sort of like if you ever worked at a job with a high turnover rate. If you haven't, then I'm telling you, you don't know what you're missing. I will give you a prime example. I worked at a chicken plant once, A shout out to the chicken plant, Tyson Chicken. It was a very high turnover rate where I grew up. There's a lot of everybody and their brother have worked there at least one time in their life, And people would come, they would hire like 20 people in a week. 20 people would come. By the end of the week, it might be 5 people left. 15 of them were like, I can't do this, But very few people lasted like a long time. It was quite the funnel, and that's life. That's everything you start. It's like when you start this, if you ever think about it, this, the same day that you told yourself, hey, I want to start a business online. It's probably like 100 other people that said the same thing, the exact same thing on the exact same day that you said it. And if you think about it, after 1 week, there's probably 20, 50 people left from that 100 people in that day that said that, 50 people. And by the end of the month, it might be 25. And then 5 years from now, you'll be the only person left. It's a funnel. This whole, everything, it's like it weeds itself out. Life weeds you out, and it's not a it's not a it's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Everything is not for you. Sometimes sometimes you get swept out early. Sometimes you don't. It just depends on what do you want to do. I'll give you a prime example. Me, when I was in high school. 2 sports. I wrestled and I did this thing called Quiz Bowl. I wrestled for maybe 3 weeks, a month maybe. It wasn't that I didn't like it, but wrestling just wore me out. Like I couldn't function in life. I would come home 6 o'clock, or go to sleep. I wouldn't wake up again till 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like, I can't get any work done. It's not gonna work. So I funneled out early in wrestling, but the Quiz Bowl, I did that for 4 years. I was the varsity person. We came in second in the state. I was good at it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I lasted a long time. So those are 2 examples of sometimes you get out early, sometimes you stay the whole time. But my suggestion for you is, if it's something that you figured out quickly, the quicker you figure something out that you don't like, the faster you can move on to the next thing. And don't look at that as a bad thing. Don't look at it as a, oh man, I can't believe, and don't think about, I don't finish enough. There's plenty of things that you finish. We all, everything ain't meant to be finished. Everything ain't meant to have an ending. It's like a relationship. You date somebody you go on a couple dates, and you're just like, you know what, I'm not feeling it. You don't have to give them a call and say, I believe that you and I, now if you've invested 2 years into a relationship, yeah, I'd say probably should tell them in person, hey, this is not working out, and yada yada yada. But if you go on 2 dates with somebody, you can just sort of vanish if you want to. That's perfectly fine. It's not a big deal. Okay. But figure out what you want to do quickly when it comes to, the internet, when it comes to this online, thing. Figure it out early and take it from there. It's sort of like when I did the MLM. I realized that me going, you know, at the time, back before, I really knew that you could make money off the internet. The MLM was like 2002, 2003, something like that. I tried it out and I realized quickly, this ain't my thing. This is not for me, you know? And then of course I'm a hard headed kind of guy. I tried it once again later on in life and I said, nah, still not for me. It's just not my thing. And so, I figured out quickly and moved on. And another example is this podcast. I started doing the podcast and I said, you know what? I like it. This is for me. I'm going to keep doing it. And 280 episodes later, 282 episodes, however many episodes, here we are. We're still going and we're gaining momentum. We're gaining more listeners every day. It's a beautiful thing. So the faster that you get yourself out of the out of the funnel, the better off you will be. So you can move forward. It's not. I know there's a saying going around. People say, fail, fail forward. Fail often or fail fast or whatever. But really, nobody wants to fail at anything. Don't get me wrong, but it's gonna happen. Unfortunately, it happens. Like people have failed marriages, people have failed friendships, people have failed, jobs that they really liked and it didn't work out. So failure happens. You don't want it. You're not looking for it. You're not like, oh my God, here comes failure. Yay. I can move on. No, no, nobody wants to fail, Like again, an example. The town I grew up in, I was like, man, they, you know, the town I grew up in, I was like, I would like to stay here, but I know if I stay here, it would be a disaster. It would be a failure, a major failure if I try to stick around here until I'm like 40 years old. Like I knew it wasn't going to work. I knew it wasn't for me. I knew that, it's sad. It's with great sadness that I don't live there. You know what I mean? Like, but it happens. It's life, and moved on. I moved forward, and I'm very happy where I live now, and with the woman that I love so much. Like I'm happy that it happened. But I recognize that, hey, if I if I stay here, I know that I wouldn't I wouldn't probably be talking to you right now. I'd just be maybe I don't know, sort of puttering around life. Who knows? You know what I mean? But sometimes you see the failure coming, and you're not looking for it. You don't want it to happen, but it's gonna happen. So I know people like to say, just fail, fail, fail. I mean, yeah, we all fail, but it's not like we want. I mean, who's looking? Nobody wants. Nobody wants to fail. Like nobody. Like nobody. Like, like when I went out for the wrestling and I knew I had to quit because I couldn't keep my eyelids hurt after a month and I couldn't stay awake in class and I couldn't stay awake at home and I was just always tired. I probably could have pedaled through it, but how long, like my grades was already on at that point, my grades are already on the decline. You can't go from A's and B's to D's and F's. So, I had to make a choice. So for you, figuring things out rather quickly. Okay, you'll figure it out fast. You'll see stuff like e-commerce. Do you want to do that? Do you want to sell stuff? Do you want to be an Amazon seller? Like Figure 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 it out early and move forward. And you'll be better off, especially if you're in now if you're a caveat, I give you now if you're like I'm 41. I'm on the cusp of being 42. When you get to be my age, now if you're older than me, then you definitely understand this and you can relate. The older you get, this is for you young people. The older you get, the faster you recognize that things ain't gonna work and you move and you move on quickly, like lightning speed quick. When I was 20, I'll tell you, when I was 20, I give you I give you a great example. Give you a great example of me not recognizing. When I was 20 years old, I remember I went on a date with a young lady and she said very little. I mean, very little. But she seemed like she liked me. It was a strange date. She would hug on me and say, and then I would say, "Hey, how are you? Are you enjoying yourself?" And she'd be like, "Mm-hmm." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I spent the whole time. I felt like I was Don Rickles. I felt like I was, Jerry Seinfeld. I thought I was Eddie Murphy because I'm just over here, trying to entertain and just talking and move my arms around and telling stories, and she's just laughing and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, for the ego, then this is great because she's just laughing at everything. I mean, I'm like, hey, am I this funny? Hey, hey, hey. But no, it's wasn't gonna work because I don't have the energy to keep up with that. So I was like, man, I'm gonna see her again, and then I kept trying and kept trying, but it was all the same. She just kept laughing and giggling, but she wouldn't really say nothing. And it's just like, you know, like I went out with her 4 or 5 times after that. But the me now, one time is it. 4 or 5 times over a span of like 2 months because I was in the Navy. Then we was floating around the earth. I'll be like, I'll be back in 2 weeks or whatever. And she, okay, and, that was it. And it was strange, but it was not recognizing. Like, hey man, like this ain't gonna work. You know what I'm saying? And when you get older, I'm not saying that you don't give things a chance, but you kind of know quickly, like, hey man, this ain't gonna work. Like this is no good. But when you're young, you just like, I'm not. I'm gonna try to. When you're young, you have the idea of I'm gonna make this work. I can make this work. And granted, some things you can force, some things you will make it to you will, but some things you don't want to. Okay, and relationships are one of them. You know what I mean? Like trying to start a business, you don't want to force that thing. You know what I mean? Like if you're not into um multi-level marketing, if you're not into talking to people all day about, let's say you want to sell Avon, and you become an Avon seller, you become an Avon rep. You have to talk to people about the Avon. You have to go meet people. You have to collect money. If you're not into that stuff, then it ain't gonna work, my friend. Okay, so what you what you have to do is recognize your strengths, recognize what you like, recognize what you're good at, and go from there. Like say, hey, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I like to do. This is what I enjoy to do, and try to do that. Now I'm not saying we talked about this the other day. Everything that you're passionate about, you're not gonna make money from, but we all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. You know, and we have to figure out what we're good at. And sometimes you definitely want to make the weaknesses. You want to bring the weaknesses up, but you also want to bring the strengths up even more. All right. So if you're not good at time management, work on it. If you're not good at this, you're not good at that, work on it. Because when you start a business, when you're like us and you're starting a business, you want and of course, most of us don't have a budget to hire a lot of people. So you're a one man band. So you have to be a little jack of all trades. So you want to start getting better at things. Like for me, time management. That's something that I'm working on. It's something I work on. You know, getting out the bed early. Like I get up early, but I used to get up early, but I do a lot of messing around. Now I get up and I go, get up and go. Take action quickly. Get up and go, get up and go. So for me, that's something that I have to work on. And one thing that I'm good at is consistency. Like I can be consistent. Okay. Okay. And when you're creating content, you need to be consistent. All right. Now I need to be consistent in everything. If I can get consistent in these videos, look out. All right. But for you, life is a funnel. It's okay. Some things you're gonna wash out. Some things you're gonna wash out on. Some things you're gonna see all the way to the bottom of that funnel. All right. And so don't think about it as a bad thing. Don't look at it as a negative. We all are gonna fail at something, unfortunately. Nobody's looking forward to failing, but it's something that's just gonna happen. It's sort of like in your lifetime, if you've driven a lot of miles, eventually you might get into a car crash. It just what kind of crash you might get into. You don't want to get into a major one, okay? I've driven well, I've driven more than the average Joe, but for me, I've driven probably well over 1,000,000 miles by now. I'm probably in the 2,000,000, 3,000,000 miles. I don't even know. I can't even keep up. But I've been in the one accident on the highway, God bless. And that was, I think somebody hit me and they took off and I crashed into this beam or crashed into something. But, you know, it wasn't it wasn't bad. It wasn't like life threatening. So, we all take our lumps, but we just get up, move on and figure things out. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's it for the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Online Marketing Moves. And if you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe to the podcast so you can get this content on a daily basis. Ladies and gentlemen, if I said it once, I'll say it to you 1,000 times. This is the best podcast in the world. So what you should do is go out, tell somebody that, hey, I am listening to the greatest podcast of all time, and you should also join me. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. We will be back tomorrow with an all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Rizzano. Thank you for listening. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, peace.